Well, it's a virtual draft, so how about a virtual draft primer? 3 days worth of draft. How about the three of us, Paul Calvisi, Darren Urban, Kyle Odegard? We're all going to look into our crystal football here and look ahead for the Cardinals. And speaking of three, Darren, we always hear those three words, best player available. Considering the Cardinals really did check a lot of boxes so far in free agency, to what degree is that true at number 8 overall?
I think there's a lot of truth to it this year. Not that you couldn't do it in other years at other times, but when you look at what this team ultimately did in free agency, plugging a lot of the holes that it needed to plug, and on the offensive side of the ball, what we're mostly talking about is wide receiver and tackle. And wide receiver, clearly the DeAndre Hopkins thing took everybody by surprise, and that was a giant step forward for this offense and this team in particular. But even at right tackle, keeping Justin Murray, who had most of the starts last year at that position and was potentially the most improved player on the entire roster last year, and bringing back Marcus Gilbert, who Cliff Kingsbury said was potentially the best lineman they had going into the season right before he tore his ACL. I don't know if that means that they're necessarily set at those positions, but it gives them the flexibility that if they don't go there, especially at number 8, that it's not really that big of a deal.
You know, we started this offseason, Kyle, by mocking the mock drafts, all of which said, oh, the Cardinals are going to go offensive line. And we're saying, no, that X receiver, that outside receiver is really the more pressing need. Well, even if you did draft a CeeDee Lamb, guess what? Best case scenario, he ends up being DeAndre Hopkins. You have DeAndre Hopkins now. So where do you think the Cardinals go from here?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Wide receiver certainly seems like it's down in the pecking order now because of Hopkins. If you stay on offense, to me, right tackle is still the spot that makes the most sense. Like Darren said, you have Marcus Gilbert and you have Justin Murray, but both of those guys are on short-term deals. You still need a right tackle of the future. And when you look at 4 different guys that are projected kind of in that range, maybe a little bit later, it makes a lot of sense to me that right tackle could be the choice.
And Kyle, right back at you. This is a pretty loaded draft when it comes to offensive tackles, especially in that top half of the first round, isn't it?
Yeah, Jedrick Wills, Tristan Wirfs, Andrew Thomas, and Mekhi Becton are all guys that have been linked to the Cardinals or right around where they pick. We don't know exactly how the Cardinals rank those guys, but you figure at least 2, probably 3, maybe even all 4 will be available at number 8, so you really have a good choice.
Do one of those names stand out to you, Darren? Is there one name that you think makes more sense than another, or you're seeing more often in the mock draft so far?
Well, clearly Wills is a guy that I think has gained some mock momentum in terms of going to the Cardinals. We don't really know exactly how they might see all these guys fitting in or what the potential might be, how they gauge these offensive linemen compared to maybe DJ Humphries, who just signed a 3-year extension to be your left tackle. But if something happens in the next couple of years, would you want to take a right tackle who could eventually move over? That might impact who they look at. I think, again, when you start looking at the linemen of this group, and going back to your original point of best player available, Paul, I think you want to get a guy, whether it's offense or defense, that is going to be a stud in this league when you're picking top 10. So I think you need to be careful about that in terms of if you're looking at these linemen, you want to think long-term of how great these linemen can turn out to be, not just, hey, right tackle is something that we wouldn't mind filling a need for.
You know, if you want freak factor, how about Mekhi Becton, 6'7", 370 something? I mean, Kyle, he'd be the first dude off the bus if you're trying to intimidate.
Yeah, and knowing that you've got Kyler Murray behind him, I mean, you want as much talent and as much ferocity as you can get on that offensive line to make Kyler Murray feel good. So, I mean, I understand the best player available aspect of it, and if you have other guys ranked higher, then they won't go offensive tackle, but understanding the positional scarcity of the position and having all of these options available, it just makes a lot of sense to me where you can connect the dots between right tackle and the Cardinals at number 8.
Okay, right back at you again, Kyle. Can we say that truly about right tackle? You know, Steve Keim in the past said, man, if you're picking in the top half of the first round, you're looking at quarterback, cornerback, edge rusher, and left tackle. What about right tackle?
To me, it's changed. I think right tackle maybe isn't quite as valuable as left, but it's right up there because everything in the NFL now is based on the passing game. And it's so important to keep your quarterback clean. So I feel like wide receiver and right tackle are slowly inching their way into premium positions.
Is wide receiver too high at number 8? What if the Cardinals really have a high grade on one of these 3 premium receivers? If you want to name some names here, Darren, and would you be shocked or surprised if the Cardinals go receiver at number 8 right now?
Well, you mentioned CeeDee Lamb, obviously, is one of those guys, and then the Alabama guys, Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs. Ruggs has got the unbelievable speed. Jeudy, in a lot of ways, people think is the most polished receiver out there. Lamb obviously played with Kyler Murray at Oklahoma. Because of what you said, where Hopkins and Lamb have been kind of compared in a lot of ways, I would think it might be one of those other two if you went that way. I'm not going to rule it out because you just can go all in at the skill positions and just say we're going to blow everything up and score 1 million points. But I do think there is something to be considered about, okay, how are you exactly going to fit this? You know, Cliff Kingsbury wasn't necessarily committing yet to saying I'm going to go back to a lot of 10 personnel. And if you draft a receiver and your top 4 guys are Larry Fitzgerald and DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk and whatever rookie you might draft, and you're not even talking about Andy Isabella, that's a lot of personnel on the wide receiver end, and there's only so many footballs to go around, and that's still part of the equation, in my opinion.
Yeah, the one thing you don't have right now, and you might have an Andy Isabella eventually, but right here, right now, you don't have that guy who runs the 4-3, the sub 4-3 to really stretch the field. Could that be Henry Ruggs, ... As I hit zoom out here for a minute, Kyle, if the quarterbacks, if there's a run on quarterbacks before 8, that's great for the Cardinals. All those position players come down. Cardinals obviously don't need a quarterback. But if quarterbacks are on the board, whether it's Justin Herbert or Jordan Love, if they fall to 8, what are the odds the Cardinals seriously consider trading out and cashing that in?
I think it would definitely be a consideration. As Darren talked about, it does not feel like there is a pressing need on this roster right now, which is pretty rare. Coaches and GMs always say they want to take best player, but usually you've got a hole or two that you need to fill. And you look at it, and I would feel pretty good about the roster if I'm Steve Keim. So if there's a good offer, if you can accumulate more draft picks, it would make sense to me.
How far is too far to move down in that first round, do you think, Darren?
If I'm playing GM, and I'm certainly not, and I'm definitely not getting paid in that direction, but I would have some hesitancy when you start moving back into, 18, 19, 20 and beyond. But if you can get a couple of picks and go down to 11 or 12 or 13, I kind of like that idea. And I think Steve Keim that's something that he will definitely explore because getting extra draft picks and maybe getting that second round pick back after you've traded it in the DeAndre Hopkins deal, I think would be very palatable.
Let's say you are GM, Darren. Come on now. Everybody's got a mock draft. Let's name a name here. I mean, Dr. Fauci probably has a mock draft at this point. What says you at number 8? Leave us with a name.
Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about offensive side of the ball, I suppose I would probably go with Wills. I think ultimately I would probably go defense on there, but this is the offensive primer. So if we're going to talk there, I would go with Wills and try and set up my offensive line going forward.
I know Kyle has an opinion here. Let her rip.
I think Wills or Wirfs are the most likely, but it would be fun if they got a wide receiver and put 4 out there and just hit the gas pedal. So we can all hope for Henry Ruggs.
All right, that's good because, once again, true to form, we're all on different thought processes here. I still say if you're going to go offense at number 8, you trade out, you trade down, you cash that in. There's got to be a quarterback on the board. But as we always say, all opinions your own. Own your opinion. That is your draft primer for the Cardinals offense.